Welcome to Empath Unplugged, a frequent release podcast of raw and philosophical reflections on well-being, love, and the meaning of life. Brought to you by your host, Esther Bertram, founder of The Insel, a rejuvenation island and community for empaths. Expect topics such as philosophy, psychology, art, culture, spirit, science, holistic health, and the occasional beach fire song to be part of your wonder ride to your oceanside escape. It's time to breathe in the salty air and bask in the soothing warm sun to relax, reflect, and vibe along with a fellow empath to rejuvenate. As most episodes refer to my 1-2-3 theory, I will provide an overview of it here for new listeners. Feel free to skip ahead 4 minutes if you know it already. In my 20s, I created 2 interlocking theories as I needed a framework for 3 reasons. 1, to know how to optimize my holistic well-being. 2, to have mutually beneficial relationships and letting go of toxic relationships and tangulations with narcissists. 3, to have lots of time and energy to give into my positive impact businesses and contribute to the world in a meaningful way. I've now spent 2 decades putting the theories into practice and they work, hence me now sharing them with the world. The 1-2-3 theory is a way to assess if you are optimized and able to give the most amount of love and energy to the world for the longest sustained time. The 5-finger theory explores each domain of holistic health and works in conjunction with the 1-2-3 theory and helps you calibrate each department. To have maximum output in your life, the 1-2-3 theory states you need to be in the order of the 1-2-3. 1 is yourself. 2 are your loved ones. 3 is the rest of the world or your contribution. When you nurture your holistic well-being first, 1, then you are better able to have mutually beneficial relationships, 2. And as a byproduct of this combination, you have so much excess energy to give, 3, your contribution to the world. This order of the 1-2-3 ensures maximum output in all departments for the longest duration. Some people are 3-2-1s or 3-1-2s, putting their cause, business, or mission before anything else. This isn't sustainable long-term if you value health and relationships. Many empaths, like I was in the past, have the default setting of being a 2-1-3, giving to others before themselves. But that blocks their flow into their 3, and as a consequence, they have little time and energy for their contribution. It's particularly dangerous to be a 2-1-3 when you are together with or around a narcissist, as they are double 1-2-3s or double 1-3-2s, where they put themselves first twice in an energy vamping way. When an empath has a 2 at the start, giving to others first, this fits like a jigsaw into the narcissist double 1. This bond is notoriously risky for empaths and often hard to break. So I'm on a mission to help empaths become strong 1-2-3s, or what I like to call super empaths, so they can thrive in life, love, and work, and not get caught wasting years of their precious life in tangulations. This podcast, the empath community I have built, and my book, The 1-2-3 Theory, are all part of achieving this mission. To dive deeper into both theories, head over to the123theory.com, where you can read or listen to my book. Now that you have the basic gist of the 1-2-3 theory, let's begin this podcast. Hello, listeners. It's a glorious day here at the Insel today. Blue skies, blue water, everything's sparkling. So it's a wonderful time to do this podcast, episode number 8. And today we're exploring the question of, do empaths experience more synchronicities? So this episode is dedicated to those of you who find yourself seeing patterns and experiencing strange synchronicities around you and within you. And it's an exciting episode for me to do because I've had so many of them in my life. It's going to be hard to keep this podcast to a reasonable length
And I'm just going to share some insights from my experience with synchronicities and what I think they are and what I've experienced with them. And so let's just first have a look at the word of synchronicity itself. And it's a term actually that came from psychologist Carl Jung that refers to deeply meaningful coincidences which mysteriously occur in life. And many people who experience them see them like an affirmation or a lesson or a message from the universe. And in my research for this episode, I was going to mostly just tell personal stories, but I thought I'd like to know a little bit more about what people think synchronicity actually is. I know what I think of it, and I came across a great article on a website called lonawolf.com/synchronicity. It's a blog or website by Alethea Luna and Matteo Sol, and they have a whole long article about synchronicity, but one part of it I wanted to share with you today is when they broke down popular worldviews of what synchronicity is. I find it really interesting to see different angles of what people think it is in its essence. So they break it down into 6 different angles. One is from the Hindus. They believe that synchronicity is a manifestation of Brahman, or the fundamental connection of all living things with the universe. And then behavioral economists, they classify synchronicity as a form of confirmation bias. For example, when you're told to look for a yellow car, or if you're going shopping to buy a red Toyota, you'll start seeing red Toyotas everywhere. And the quantum physicists attribute synchronicity to the non-local mind or universal consciousness. I think I'm probably in that camp a little bit. Then you've got the skeptics who call synchronicity apophenia. I hadn't even heard of that word until I read that article. And that's the practice of seeing connections and patterns in random and or meaningless data. So that's interesting as well. Number 5 is what everyday spiritual folks believe synchronicity is a sign from the higher self or soul. I think I fall into that camp as well. And psychologists, particularly those who follow Jungian theories, believe synchronicity comes from the unconscious mind and collective unconscious. Actually, I think that as well. I seem to fall into all of the, I think I'm a hardcore groupie of synchronicity. I seem to resonate with nearly all of those there. One thing is certain, that wherever it comes from or whatever it actually is, synchronicities definitely exist, even if it's a apophenia, like the skeptic said. So it does exist in some form. And I think how it relates to empaths, and that's what I want to talk about today, is I feel like we want to make sense of our experience, and we're on a quest to understand all of the realities we find ourselves in. And there's always, as an empath, a lot to process, especially with everyone else's inputs as well, until we've learned how to have a very good boundary. It can be very overwhelming. So there's always a lot to process. So when we experience a lot of synchronicities, as an empath, some of them might even be from other people. So the question of the day is, as empaths, do we experience more synchronicities? I think whether you're an empath or not, I feel the people who experience the most synchronicities are the people who want to make sense of reality and their experience, because they see more patterns and find meaning. And arguably, empaths want to do that, potentially more than others, if they're trying to process. It's like having more data to get through. You've got more data when you've got more people's vibes going into your consciousness as well. And yeah, one thing, this is the funny thing with making a podcast, is I don't fully know what I really think about a topic until I start exploring it or talking about it. You must know what you feel, but it's not until you're interviewed, even if you're interviewing yourself, that you start looking at things in new ways. And that happened with this morning when I was looking at the word synchronicity. I'd never really thought of it like this. And if I broke down the word synchronicity, there's a few things in there. So you've obviously got the chron in the middle, which chronologically, the word chron or chronos, it's all about time. So sync, it's like syncing is obviously getting in tune, in flow with time. Chronicity, a city is somewhere that's very busy and lots of things going on. So I started looking at the word like it's a flow of time where there's lots of things going on that's in sync with each other. And it was just a new angle that I had never thought about the word. So a city that is in sync with time, an internal cosmic consciousness city perhaps. Anyway, I think anyone who's in flow and working with the universe will likely experience more synchronicities than others. And going back to empaths, I think a lot of us, many empaths, have been through trauma. And when that happens, often there's a lot of things we don't understand. We need to try to make sense of, and it might be beyond what we can at the time. So it's very common to look for signs or clues externally to create a language that we understand. And that happens especially when life is chaotic in any form, whether it's trauma or just natural chaos. We see patterns to create order in our mind for our own mental well-being and clarity. And I think when we do that, that makes us feel more connected and in tune with universal energy. So when it feels good and it makes sense of reality, I'd say we tend to do it more. And I think that's how it's been for me. I seem to experience quite a lot of synchronicities, and sometimes people have teased me about it, people potentially the skeptics. But I don't think there's anything wrong with seeing or experiencing heightened synchronicities. For all we know, we're living in a holographic universe. By the way, that's a really good book. I'm reading that at the moment. I just think when we experience a lot of synchronicities, to me, it's a sign you're working with universal energy and you're just taking keen note of your surroundings and piecing it all together. And it's like a big jigsaw. And I think it's a beautiful thing because it's I think we're the happiest in this state of anticipation. I think if the whole picture of reality was given to us and the whole picture was created, it's almost like game over. And when we're here as a conscious human in reality and we're just given a few of the pieces, it's tantalizing because you get a little bit of a sign that there's a bigger picture going on, but it doesn't fill in the whole thing. And so it almost becomes a bit like a game. And I think that's the most exciting thing. And I think that if I was a god or a goddess and the big creator of everything or universal energy, if I wanted to create a reality for myself to learn and grow and evolve, because potentially that could be what their drive is, I would create a reality that you gave some of the elements away, but not all of them. Because once you've given a few clues, little breadcrumbs along the way, it kind of initiates that self-growth for all of the participants within it. Whether it's a tree, learning how to grow into a beautiful tree and evolving into the best version of that tree that can fill a forest or not, or a human being, or a little lady beetle. I think that's the wonderful thing about synchronicity. It's like just little breadcrumbs in the bigger game. And you don't want to see the whole picture because, that would be boring. Anyway, that's why I love them. I think that's the explanation of why I like synchronicities. So if I look back, I'm going to share a few of my crazy ones with you. There's some quite out there ones that just have still blown my head away. But I guess it all started when I was really quite young. I was very in tune with nature. That was my meaning and language. I'm an animal empath. I became vegetarian when I was 10 because I couldn't bear the thought of eating my friends, and vegan when I was 23 years ago, became vegan. And animals and nature have always been a very big language for me and meaning. They're like omens or totems when I come across animals at certain periods. I have, like, for example, in my lucid dreaming, snakes are a very symbolic thing that come at certain times when I'm meant to be warned about certain experiences. And I have, like the other day, whenever I see animals at a pivotal point of my life, they often will show up, a different animal, and often they have different meanings. And I read them like a language. So I was on my way to a meeting not that long ago, a couple of months ago, and it was a really important meeting that I was nervous about. It was going to be a bit of a high-stake conversation. It was involving money and business negotiations, and it was going to be quite a tough situation and negotiation. And I stayed at my friend's place, and in the morning when I went to put my luggage in the back of the car, there were ants everywhere inside the boot. And I was like, oh my God, it almost like a horror movie. That's how many there were. But I didn't see it as a dangerous thing. Thankfully, they were all on a bag, mostly on a bag. So I was able to just gently lift the bag out and put it on the ground for a while they all went back to their nest. And I didn't know straight away. I know that ants have a connectivity. They're hardworking, but I looked it up what they mean, and they mean things like working as a team, and they're able to modify their habitats. And one thing that popped up is they exploit their resources. And I started feeling really positive about the meeting, thinking, ants, they pretty much can make shit happen in a really great way. And I mean, I've often sat there watching ants walk towards each other and how they meet each other on the way, and their little antenna things quickly touch the other one. And I found out when I was fascinated about that happening, they're actually telling the other one what's happening at the other end. But it's quite slow going because they need to do it to each single one that they go past. I mean, it's very communal. It's very nice. It's very hippie land. Let's give everyone a hug that we come across as we walk down the street. Let them know what's happening down the other end. But it's fascinating how they communicate, but they're so damn productive. I love them because they're very, industrious. And anyway, the meeting went really well, and the ants helped me. I don't care if people think I'm bonkers for reading animal totems, because they've always made sense to me. This week, for example, 2 days ago, I was sitting here looking at the ocean, and I'd never seen dolphins out here before. I've been here a year and a half, and there were probably about 20 of them. It was really beautiful and just amazing. I mean, I've had a few really quite tough weeks in the last weeks. My grandmother passed away. She's 94, and we were close. And I got after visiting the hospital, I came back with a kind of flu. I hadn't had one in years and years. It was just emotionally run down. It was a bit of a tough few weeks. And anyway, things have started to pick up, and I've felt better, and processing the loss of Nanny. And then when I saw all these dolphins, it was just so confirming about harmony and balance and getting back in a flow with the universe. And it was really lovely. Anyway, so that's how animals work for me. I often just see them and read them as I see them. And then when I was a teenager, I discovered tarot, and I learned about the archetypes and the metaphors and symbolism of that, and how within us we already have the knowledge within us, I think. And when we do a tarot reading, often we can read into the thing we know about ourselves already, because it's just presented externally. That's why it's different for every person, but I think it's just a confirmation of what you know within yourself already, seen in a metaphoric way. I'd never think it's an external thing coming to say, hey, I'm a tarot card telling you this is what's going on. I always think it comes from within. And it's like when you're reading a book and certain parts of it resonate. It's like it's ourselves making that discovery, but using an external form. It's the same with my animal language in the universe. It's all within. It's just we are translating and inputting from something external to make sense of the internal configuration. Anyway, same with my lucid dreams. I've done lucid dreaming all my life. If you listen to the last podcast, I explored that realm a little bit more. There have been many times where I've had future dreams, and one particular one, there's a couple that really stand out as being so strong. Like when I was in Australia, I think it was just after my dream training year, which was 99, or it might have been in 2000. It was the year before I left Australia and made a life as a musician around the world and moved to Germany. But I had a dream before that started. It was either in that year or just after. I was in Germany by the sea, which was weird anyway, because I don't associate sea with Germany. I think it's more inland land. Anyway, it was grey skies. There were sand dunes, and it was very surreal. I knew it was the future. It was lucid. And what made it really surreal, a bit like I was inside a Salvador Dali image, were all these snails at the sea. And it was really weird because, in Australia, you wouldn't ever see snails at the sea. That's what made it really like a surrealistic painting. And again, snails, another symbolic animal. Anyway, it was very vivid and very intense and, peculiar. So it stuck with me. Anyway, life went on. I think within that year, I'd moved to Germany. I don't know at the time when I had the dream if I knew I was going to Germany. I think I may have. Anyway, within the first, I would say, month or two of living in Germany, we ended up going in this big hippie truck van with all these, they were very much in the trance scene. So the trance music lovers in their truck that had been converted to a living room and bed. We went on a little journey with about 6 of us or 8 of us. And we went up to the North Sea, which I didn't know existed really. And it was beautiful, beautiful trip up there. Anyway, got out of the truck. They took us to the sea, and there it was. I was walking through the dunes. It was grey sky, and along the path were snails everywhere. And the dream came back, and I was like, oh my Lord, how could I have known that? How could I even invent that? Because I felt like it was a surreal picture. And especially coming from an Australian background, I'd never traveled the world then. I just didn't know that snails could even live around sand and the beach. And anyway, that was a very synchronicitous moment when it's coming from the subconscious into the conscious. Another one happened like that when I lived in Germany. I was living in Berlin at the time, and I had a future dream. My partner at the time, he's the one who was very grounding and supportive of my dreams. in the dream, he took my hand and showed me the future. And it was a lucid dream again. And we zapped into, I don't know how far in, it was a year or two. And he showed me my life then. And he showed me I was living in a little cottage and I had animals everywhere. There were just animals all around. And I was there on my own, and it was tiny. And there was this row of pine trees, and that's mostly what I remember. And anyway, I went back to my life, my normal waking life. Life goes on. A few months later, due to various factors, I end up moving to a small place in the west of Germany, a very small village, and living in a garden house with my animals that I had to get shipped over from Australia because we decided we were going to stay. So my dog and my cat, Heidi and Honey, came over from Australia and joined me there. And the people that I lived with had a lot of animals as well. They were caring for animals. And behind the little cottage in the garden was this row of pine trees. And it was again one of those moments that I went, yep, okay, well, yep, this is where I'm meant to be for now, obviously, because I was shown it directly months before in a lucid future dream. Anyway, there's another, whether that's a synchronicity, I don't know whether you call that a synchronicity or not, because it's a bit like it's more like a premonition. I don't know. Anyway, it's in the same realm. But I'm now going to go into the waking life synchronicity stories that have just blown my head off. There's a couple of them. There's probably three or four really off the probability charts ones that I want to share with you today. So the first one is from when I was living around Lismore. That's when my partner and that's when I was doing that dream training. And it was the time where I got the strong intuition that we need to move to Germany. At the time I was studying composition at university. We were making live electronic chill out music. My partner was a producer and I was studying composition. And we had a little duo. And we decided, because in 99 then, because we were making live chill out electronica, it was quite big in Japan. So we made a plan to leave Australia and go to Japan because that's where the scene was happening for the kind of music we were doing. So we thought we'll go to Japan and take our music there and see what happens. Anyway, life went on a little bit. I caught a hitchhike ride. I don't know why, because I never hitchhiked. I had a car, but I was at a party at Byron Bay. And in the morning, we hitchhiked a ride and got in the car, and it was a German guy driving, and he was talking about the festival scene in Germany and about what it's like over there. And I got the strongest tummy butterflies that just was so immense that I don't know why. It was just one of those things. It was, my body was telling me so clearly to take note of this conversation. And anyway, we got out of the car. I kept his email. Emails weren't really even a big thing back then because it was just starting to use the internet more, like in normal personal life. So anyway, I did get his email, but then I got out of the car and I said to my partner, I think we need to move to Germany. And because he was so supportive of my intuition and whatever, and I told him about the tummy experience, he said, yep, we're going to Germany. And then, so that was decided purely from this one conversation and the tummy butterflies. And then we moved down to Melbourne, and that's when we started our intention setting and putting up pictures of Germany around the house. I put it on every door, and we even made up this thing where we turn the mattress every night a different direction, and we made up our own like vortex to manifest. In the early days of my manifesting, I used to play games like that. Anyway, we just decided, we told everyone we're going, where we decided it's going to be happening. It's going to happen. We didn't have any money because we just left university. We weren't employed. So we just, we were just doing music, and we just started preparing to go. So we started writing all the music we need. I got my costumes together. I decided we're just going to go to Germany based on this. Then the guy, months later, that guy had emailed me and said, I don't know if you remember, you got a hitchhike ride. If you ever go to Germany and want to do music, contact this guy. And I was like, oh my God, there was a nice, beautiful synchronicity. And so that was our first connection there. And this guy, Pierre, got us connected in the scene there, and we played at all different big trance festivals in the chill out time, like between 4, 5, 6 a.m. when people are coming down and need some live electronic chill. And that was a beautiful synchronicity that he just randomly did that. But this is the one. This is the weirdest one. Okay, so we decided to do it. Didn't know how we're going to do it. To leave Australia, and back then laptops weren't even a thing, and we were doing electronic music, so we needed our computer. We had a big PC with the tower and a big screen, and we had all our rack mount effects and a big keyboard and a lot of equipment, even though it's just 2 people. Back then, things weren't smaller. I sound really old at the moment when I'm saying this, but technology has changed pretty damn fast. But it was a lot of equipment, so you can't just put a backpack on and take off if you want to do live electronic in Germany. You need to take your whole kit and caboodle with you. So anyway, Mum was visiting from the Gold Coast down in Melbourne, and I was just doing my usual thing, just saying, yep, Mum, I'm manifesting to go to Germany. And she's like, okay, yes, crazy daughter. No, she doesn't think I'm crazy, but she didn't really say much, about it. She just, nod along, supportive. And my partner walked in and he goes, I just have a really strong feeling now it is going to happen this year. And Mum then turned around and said, bringing the realism to the situation, you'd need at least $10,000 to do that whole trip, because she knew we had all the equipment and flights were expensive. And we nodded and just said, yeah. And anyway, I dropped her back to the airport, and she flew back to the Gold Coast. And that exact day, that same day, so that was in the morning, my partner and I were fighting, I don't know why, over who gets to the mailbox first. And we never really did that. It just happened. We went out the front and we were kind of trying to run faster than the other. Anyway, one of us got the mail. I can't remember what it was. We opened it and it was $10,000 to the dollar inheritance that was not expected from a family member on his side from a death that had happened quite a while ago. And that was just mind-blowing, because it was the exact day that Mum said it, and it was the exact amount. And we had already done a few months of, intention setting and knowing it's going to happen and putting everything in our intention planning, setting our bow and arrow intention and letting go. And when that happened on that day, and I called Mum that night and said, hi, Mum, this morning you said we need at least $10,000 to make our dream of traveling to Europe and being musicians come true. Well, we got it. And she didn't believe me, not straight away, because she just thought like it's pretty much impossible, the probability of going within the one day to get that money. Anyway, it happened. So that was a really, really striking one. But I've got an even more striking one. So anyway, we used the money to pay for all of our equipment to get over there and the flights and everything. In the end, we arrived with $1,000 left and had to try to make our dream come true with that. But long story short, it was meant to be 6 months. I stayed 14 years because it worked out. We played with that band, and I joined another band called Dizzy Denton as their main singer, and did my solo project, duo project, and toured all over Europe and had an amazing 14 years. Moved to England, wrote my book, November Fox, and a whirlwind thing that all happened from that one hitchhike ride and the intuition and met my partner in Germany. There's so many things that I'm just so thankful that happened purely because I listened to the intuition of my tummy that day. Although there was some really rough times too, obviously. I went through my 20s and a few very lower points. And anyway, I still am so grateful for the last few decades. It was just fantastic roller coaster of amazingness, even including the shadows stuff. Anyway, the most mind-blowing synchronicity story is this upcoming one. Purely if you look at it mathematically, and that's what does my head in, because if I take away all the spiritual, any esoteric interpretations and just look with pure logic and maths, that's the bit that does my head in. So we were in our, I think, first year of being in Berlin, and one of my stronger intuitions is real estate intuition. I've always had that for some reason. I've ended up living in crazy houses, like the house on the cliff and the house under the windmill and a house in a train station, and all these quirky places that give me a lot of energy because of their creative energy, because of their unique way that they are and the energy that they hold. Anyway, it happened, we needed to find a new place because our lease had run out we did a 6-month lease or something. And I just was looking through the paper. That's how you did it back then. So I was looking through a paper. I'm not that old, by the way, but that's for some reason how it was done in Berlin back then. So it was, I think, the year 2001 or 2002 then. And we needed a new apartment. Anyway, I was looking through this paper and just circling the ones that I felt drawn to. And the one I felt the most drawn to is the one we moved into. So we ended up moving there. And because it was taking over while a couple and their child was going to be away for 6 months and somewhere else in the world, all of their belongings were still in there. Anyway, I just had randomly found it and felt like a good place. We moved in there. We were moving just some of their stuff, some of the books off the shelf just to make a bit of space. And at one point, like, I picked out these books. We hadn't met, by the way, that many people yet in Germany. We'd been to we'd played at a few festivals, but when you're playing, you don't meet that many people, just a handful of people. And we were in that trance scene. There was one party we went to just outside of Berlin. That was quite a smaller festival. And I remember meeting the DJ, and because she was a female DJ, there weren't many female DJs, and I was like really proud of her. I thought it was really cool. I went and just chatted with her, and, I liked the music she was playing. Anyway, we swapped information, but we didn't ever meet up or catch up. But I did have her contact information. And anyway, there was a few weeks after that when we moved into this property that I found through the paper. When we moved those books, a photo fell down out of one of the books, and I picked it up and I was like, hang on a minute, that's that girl DJ. And I just thought, out of all of the millions of people, because millions and millions of people live in and around Germany, what are the chances that out of the very small handful of people that I've met so far, in this random house that I chose through the paper, a photo falls out and it's the girl that I know, that I met a few weeks ago, a couple of months ago at that party. And I showed my partner, I was like, what the hell? That is so weird. The mathematics already, okay, the mathematics gets bonkers here. So the mathematics of that occurring was already pretty astronomical. Anyway, then within an hour, and I kid you not, my very daggy old phone, Nokia I think it was, rang. This girl has never called me before. I had her contact information. I met her at that party weeks or a couple of months ago. She just fell out. My phone rings. It was that bloody girl. That girl called me. And I was just like, I literally felt like I was zapped out of a matrix. I was like, I already had been freaking out about the maths of the probability of the girl falling out of the bloody book. Then the phone rang and it was her. And I was like, what the and then I tried to explain. I didn't even know why she was calling me, but I was saying, you just fell out of a book and I've just moved into this apartment and now you're calling me. Anyway, I knew, because I'm follow signs and intuitions and whatever she's calling me about is probably something very serious, because why would the universe connect these dots together to be like that? Anyway, because I was on a massive mission with my partner at the time to make our band, our duo, make it in the world of music over there, I was very loyal to it. I would never, ever have joined any other band, because that was my world. That was my whole thing I did. It was my duo with him. Anyway, she was calling me, asking me whether I want to become the singer of this band, Dizzy Denton. And ordinarily, if that photo hadn't have fallen down, I would have said no immediately, no matter how famous they were. And they were famous. I would have said no because of my loyalty and the mission I was on to achieve in my duo. But because that photo fell down and the timing of it, I said, yeah, I'll meet them to discuss it and explore the possibility. And that's what I did. And I ended up being, there's too many stories to go on this podcast, but it again changed the trajectory of my life from that moment. And that was the minute I thought, okay, I don't know what that was. I don't know if it can be just coincidence that those two occurrences happened so close together. The probability, I mean, what is that? I still don't have an answer for it. One thing I do know is it is synchronicity. I still don't know the cause, because that was not something I was creating inside my head, because they were external. Yes, I was connecting patterns, but purely the fact that she called me and she was the girl who fell out. I mean, anyway, then, yeah, that makes me think more of a matrix or a holographic universe more and more. Anyway, that was the biggest one. Since then, I have had a lot more other ones, never as big as that one. That was definitely the biggest one I've ever had. I have had, and I do continue to have, small ones and that comes into the working with intention. So if I have an intention, happened in Melbourne, that I really wanted another Tempo mattress because I had one in England and I love them, and they're quite expensive mattresses, but I thought, yeah, I'll set my intention bow and arrow for it. And then I looked up on Gumtree actually and found one in the neighbouring block, someone selling it secondhand, but in, good enough condition, within the hour that I'd set it. Synchronicities like that, but that's kind of working with intention setting as well. Or the double ones, like there were ages back then. It was always 11:11 when I looked at the clock, until actually a while ago, 2 years ago, I remember being hunted by the 111. Like there was this period of time over a few weeks, even a few months actually, where I was literally hunted by that number, and it probably was telling me to prioritize my holistic well-being. Number one, become a 111, because I was back then still falling into 213s a little bit here and there. It was possibly even telling me I need to do this podcast and do more things that are nurturing for my soul calling, which is contributing to the world and tuning into that. I was very much caught up in a lot of corporate company stuff at the time, and it was probably pulling me away from that. Anyway, it was happening everywhere. Like if I saved a file, it was 111 kilobytes, or then I'd look up, it was 1:11 o'clock, or we'd do a Zoom meeting and it would go for 1 hour and 11 minutes, or I'd watch some episode of something and it would say number 111. It happened, I kid you not, it felt like hundreds of times. Anyway, things like that sometimes happen to kind of, for me, give me a little slap going, take note of this, or look in this direction, or, oh, well done, you've done this, or watch out, don't go that way. Anyway, I find synchronicities fascinating. I'm going to move on now from my crazy stories. It's interesting to revisit those times of my life and just give you some tips if you want to experience more of them yourself. You probably, if you're listening to this podcast, you are probably an in-tune empath that experiences it already a lot. But for those of you who want to have more synchronicities, I think there are ways to encourage it to happen more, because it is an internal thing and an external thing. So it's a 3-step process. Number 1, set intentions to experience them more. And if you need to do that, listen to the podcast before this, number 7. It's all about intention setting, and it'll help you learn how to set clear intentions if you're not used to doing that. Then you can set them for wanting to experience more synchronicity. And the step 2 is to remain in an open and receptive state in your waking life and in your dreaming life. You could start writing down your dreams. That's a good step towards having lucid dreams, and taking note of the patterns that you see emerging. When you see animals pop up at a certain point, have a look at their meaning. When you see certain numbers reoccurring, when you hear conversations, the same words keep coming up, tune in, listen to them. What is it saying? Just stay open and receptive and attentive to what's going on. And they will, because it's going on all the time. So it's a lot of it's about us just paying attention. Step 3 is just enjoy it. Enjoy that experience, because the more you're open to it and enjoy it, it'll probably have a feedback loop of happening more, and you'll see it more. And yeah, it's a beautiful thing, because I think that having a few of those jigsaw piece puzzles revealed is exciting. It's like a game that's showing you that you're on path towards a bigger picture. And it's like the dolphins this week. I felt like that was so beautiful. And I feel at the moment, even making this podcast and writing my book, The 1, 2, 3 Theory, I'm finally at a spot where and building my house here on an island. Like, I am in a bit of a phase of getting to the point I've wanted to get to for a long time, and making that space. And my songs are starting to come back, and my creativity is coming forward, and I'm grounding, planting seeds, literal trees in the earth to get in a very harmonious and balanced state as a result of quite a roller coaster life up until the last years, when things have started to settle, and now I'm able to really, really focus on the 3, giving back to the world. So the dolphins seem to show me it's the right thing I'm doing right now, that they were dancing to say this is where I'm meant to be. And when occurrences like that happen, if you imagine it on a spectrum, again, I like seeing things on a spectrum because it's a very inclusive way, in a way. On one end, when you're in tune with the universe and getting symbols and things happening externally in a synchronicitous way, the city of time in sync, it's a really reconfirming state of being. Whereas on the other end of the spectrum, it's more like where the unconscious zombies strut through life not in tune. They're not even able to see the poor things. They hopefully will get more consciousness when things happen, and they can spark into looking at the grandness of everything and break free from the monotony of a prescribed path. I'm not judging, by the way. I'm just explaining how often I can see when people have not been able to look beyond the set parameters of life and break free from their own self-imposed matrix. And not always self-imposed. Society does a lot of that, keeping people in a framework that stops them thinking and feeling beyond the prescribed path. And yeah, I think when you're free from that and you're a free thinker and a free feeler, you move up towards this other end of the spectrum, away from a zombie existence, and there's a lot more synchronicities happening and breadcrumbs left by the universe to show you, look, there's more than just a ready-made path where you're not thinking and feeling very broadly or deeply or highly. Anyway, so I think if you're on a path to becoming a super empath, you probably will start experiencing more and more synchronicities, because I feel like it's a bit of a wink from the universe going, yep, you're on path. So with that, I'm going to leave you with a song today for song time. And it's a song that I wrote while I was over in Germany. And it's called Caravan. And I've always felt like a gypsy. Mama even wrote a poem once that she found me as a baby, as left from the gypsies. I didn't take offense to it because I am really hers. It's not a true story. But I feel fully like I have gypsy soul in me in a way. I know my Finnish mummo, she had 7 children, and even in Lapland, raising a family on a farm, such a big family, she was the biggest heart ever. She would invite the gypsies in as well to feed them. And I feel like the gypsy soul, this traveling Wilbury, that's a band, this traveling through life in a caravan where you are open to the unfolding and the mysteries of the universe as you explore and work in harmony with the universe. It's a beautiful thing. So this song Caravan is about that trust in the universe and traveling with the universe and being open to this carnival of all there is. So, and all the synchronicities within it, the bits of the jigsaw. So I'm going to leave you with that song, and I'll be back at the end to say bye. This is Caravan from my album Alchemy of the Heart.
Lifetimes we rearrange. She opens her heart for me to see. Feel safe in her arms. We rest, we move north, east, south and west. I'm held down while I'm also set free.
That was Caravan from my album Alchemy of the Heart. And to listen to more of my music, you can head over to estherbertram.com.au. And thank you for being with me on this journey. I love the topic of synchronicity. I hope you enjoyed or got any kind of value from hearing some of my crazy stories with it. And I hope you start to experience more beautiful synchronicities if you want to, because it's just so exhilarating to get a few more jigsaw puzzle pieces lined up to remind you that you're a beautiful empath on an evolving and blossoming path. And I wish you every bit of greatness and beauty and abundance for your journey, and hope that you have a beautiful week until we talk and listen and experience again. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Today's episode is sponsored by StepByStepGuitarLessons.com, your go-to course if you're an absolute beginner and want to learn guitar. I have taught hundreds of students with my fast track method from ages 6 to 80. With lifetime access, these self-paced online lessons mean you can learn in the comfort of your own home. The bite-sized lessons are very easy to follow, and the platform keeps track of your progress. This course is tailored for absolute newbies and is much more effective than random YouTube videos or learning from your Uncle Steve, who may not have the patience required to teach at a true beginner's pace. You are guaranteed to get fast results, and if you don't like the learning style, there is a 30-day no questions asked money-back guarantee. Plus, it only costs the price of 2 in-person lessons, but you get over 50. There are several studies that prove that learning a musical instrument is the only activity to light up almost all areas of the brain at once. Making music has the power to soothe your soul, heal your body, and bring you true joy. Not to mention, if you've always wanted to be a rock star, learning guitar is your ticket to do so. So if you're ready to learn or want to gift it to a friend, head over to StepByStepGuitarLessons.com and enroll today. You've been listening to Empath Unplugged, a frequent release podcast of raw and philosophical reflections on well-being, love, and the meaning of life. Brought to you by your host, Esther Bertram, founder of The Insel, a rejuvenation island and community for empaths. For more information or to join the community, head over to theinsel.com, theinsel.com. If you have found value from this episode and would like to become a patron to support future episodes and gain access to exclusive content only available to patrons, head over to empathunplugged.com and sign up to be part of the inner circle. Thank you for listening. Have a beautiful and rejuvenating week. Till next time, bye-bye.